Bosonic is making waves because she makes less money than her billionaire boss, but pays a higher tax rate than he does.
Yeah, Deb is typical. She's right in the middle.
In 2010, Bosonic paid a nearly 36% tax rate. Buffett, who made $62 million that year, paid less than half of that. Now Bosonic and her boss are campaigning for something the president calls the Buffett rule, requiring millionaires to pay at least 30% in income tax.
Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to Naily by Nature. My name is Naily. On this channel, we talk about spirituality, we talk about law of attraction, we talk about self-improvement, self-actualization, and so much more. So if any of those topics interest you, please remember to hit that subscribe button and support your girl. And if you enjoyed this video, please remember to thumbs up. I also love hearing from you guys, so please remember to leave a comment. Even if it's just feedback or you want to give me some suggestions on what I should talk about next. I love hearing from you guys, so thank you guys so much for being here. So let's get into today's video. I recently read this article that was published last month by Publica, where they obtained these never before seen records, tax records of some of the wealthiest people in America. So this included people like Jeff Bezos, Warren Buffett, Michael Bloomberg, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, George Soros, Rupert Murdoch. And basically they obtained these tax records from like the past 15 years. And what they found was that the wealthiest people in America pay little to no taxes in recent years. And I really wanted to make a video about this because I feel like no one cared. Like there was no outrage. And I think maybe there was no outrage because this was completely legal. And my reasoning for making this video is that this shit shouldn't be legal. And we should be outraged. We should be taking it to the streets. We should be asking our Congress members to do better for us, like our elected leaders to do better, because the working class Americans are paying a higher tax rate than these billionaires. If these billionaires were being taxed properly, this country would be paradise. A lot of these billionaires, what they're doing is that they're filing their federal income to be like $1 or $80,000. And what they're doing instead is that they are borrowing against their assets. And this is a whole jerking off system between billionaires and the banks. Like the banks love when billionaires do this because it's a win-win situation for both parties.
The system is set up in a way where the wealthy do not pay, the ultra wealthy do not pay their fair share. What's happening is we are all in a system, you and I and almost all your viewers are in a system where we get salaries and taxes get taken out of our salaries. We're in the tax system. The ultra wealthy are not in the same system. They are in a different universe. They get income when they want, at the time and place of their choosing, how they choose to do it. And a lot of the time, they just simply don't take income at all. Sometimes they borrow against their assets, often stock that has appreciated, and they borrow until they die, and then they avoid estate taxes. So they are essentially able to avoid huge amounts of tax throughout their entire lives while living lavishly.
Everyday working class Americans live paycheck to paycheck. They're not able to save, they're not able to build wealth for their families because they're paying a large portion of their income to our federal government. It says that in recent years, the median American household earned about $70,000 annually and paid 14% in federal taxes. The highest income tax rate, 37%, kicked in this year for couples earning above $628,000. Billionaires in America can avoid paying taxes by using these strategies that are beyond the reach of everyday Americans. And it's really costing America because they're gaining so much wealth despite the fact that they're putting down that their income is like $80,000 or $1 or whatever. And they're avoiding these taxes that could actually benefit our country. If billionaires paid as much taxes as average Americans, America would be paradise. But no, instead, America's infrastructure is collapsing, our economy is collapsing, our schools are collapsing, and they want this, like billionaires want this so that they can control more of this country. That's like literally the goal, is for billionaires to control America, and they already do. But it's right now so plain to see, and I feel like people just don't care. And every year, the IRS is defunded by our Congress members. And this is mostly because billionaires lobby for this. Billionaires like Jeff Bezos, who purchased the Washington Post. He has a mansion in Washington, D.C., and this is basically to cozy up to our Congress members and to lobby for these types of things. Because if the IRS is defunded and they don't have enough funds, then they don't have the manpower to actually go through each of these billionaires' assets and income and their money and their wealth. So what happens is the IRS focuses on everyday Americans, and they'll come after you, someone who makes like $45,000 a year, $100,000 a year, $600,000 a year, $1 million a year, and they will, they'll fine you. You can go to jail for, missing one or two things on your tax returns. But these billionaires can get away with murder. And it's such a rigged system. And I feel like it's getting to a point where I feel like, when are we as a society going to realize that we are the only ones upholding the social contract? Like, there's a social contract here that everyone pays their fair share, and what's happening is that these billionaires have the means to pay their fair share and they're choosing not to. And you have people like Warren Buffett, who goes on TV and tells people like, yes, like, it's not fair that my assistant pays more in taxes than me, but this motherfucker Warren Buffett paid the least in taxes.
Jesse, let's talk about billionaire Warren Buffett. This one really fascinates me. He publicly supports raising taxes on the wealthy, but you found that no one among the 25 wealthiest Americans avoided as much tax as Buffett, which is an understatement, ironic. You write that according to Forbes, his riches rose $24.3 billion between 2014 and 2018, and that the data shows over those years he paid $23.7 million. Let's talk about what that tax rate looks like and how he in particular pulled that off.
Yeah, so what that means is that for every $100 that his wealth goes up, he paid 10 cents in taxes. Now, the average American, typical American making 60 or 70,000, when you talk about income taxes, they're paying 14%. So they're paying $14 on every $100 that they bring in income versus wealth growth for Warren Buffett. So he's out of the system entirely. So when he talks about raising taxes, and to his credit, he has said the wealthy should pay more in taxes, the wealthy have won. My class has won this war, this class war. When we talk about raising taxes, that really wouldn't touch Buffett at all. He's out of the tax system entirely. He doesn't take income in substantial amounts.
What I want people to understand is that these billionaires are giving us mad lip service. They're going on TV and telling us like, they care about Black Lives Matter. They're doing all this shit. Like Michael Bloomberg has this whole philanthropy side, which is so fucked up. Like literally, this was the company that I interviewed for where they were so completely like out of touch. But they do all this like fake philanthropy bullshit to make it seem like they're doing really good things for our society. But meanwhile, they're just like literally avoiding a bunch of taxes. They're literally not paying their dues. And meanwhile, they're, building up this public image that they're helping our society, when in fact, they're not. They're taking from it. Sometimes I feel like Americans or our generation just does not care about these issues because it might make people feel like, we're powerless to these powers. And so it's easier to ignore these issues and, contribute and participate in this really fucked up society. But there's a cap to all of this, right? And we are seeing capitalism in America slowly collapse, because what do people think is going to happen when, the the mortgage moratorium ends, the student loan moratorium ends, the stimulus ends, the unemployment ends, if you're not paying attention to what's happening outside of America, you can see that the people are rising up against their government. Countries like Colombia, Cuba, who has never protested against their government since 1992 or something, they're rising up against their government. Haiti literally killed their president last week. Countries like Lebanon on the brinks of collapse, the cost of toiletries and women hygienic products like pads and tampons have rose 150%. The economy of the international community is on the brinks of collapse, and people are rising up. And right now here in America, they're not really reporting what's happening around the world because they understand the power of that. They understand that if they start showing that, hey, look, the entire world is rising up against their government, it is going to inspire Americans to also revolt against our government. So they're keeping people calm right now with, the stimulus right now. But this shit is going to cap. This bubble is going to burst. Look at what's happening in our housing market. The cost of houses are being overvalued and people are buying up property like no tomorrow. And I feel like my generation, millennials, and this upcoming generation, Gen Z, we have a lot of issues that are going to affect us in the future, especially things like retirement. We're not a generation that has companies providing us pensions. We're not getting jobs with pensions. We're getting 401ks, and a 401k really isn't going to hold you down. And Social Security is highly unlikely for our generation. So that's a whole crisis for our entire generation, is retirement. And there are more working class people who don't have a retirement plan in place. And our government can totally come in and help us. These billionaires can totally help these types of issues, but they're choosing not to. And we, the people, just don't give a fuck. And I just don't understand why, when we are the most powerful population, we, the working class people, have so much power, and there's nobody who cares. And I think that has to do with, people feeling like they're helpless. When I talk to people about what's happening, especially in my generation, when I talk to people about what's happening in the world and what's happening in our country, I feel like people understand what's happening. And then there's some people who are just don't, out of sight, out of mind. But there are a lot of people who understand what's happening, but it makes them feel helpless, they can't do anything about it. So then it becomes a thing of I rather ignore what's happening and let someone else figure it out while I continue to participate in this really fucked up system. Not to mention these other issues like climate change, which is so real and no one cares. And the reason I wanted to make this video was because I see something fundamentally wrong here. And I think that we are headed for something that I don't think any of us are prepared for. I am extremely anxious about the future of this country, about the world. And sometimes it feels like a lot of people are just trying to ignore what's happening and just trying to go back to their everyday life pre-pandemic. But so much has come out since the pandemic, and it's how can we ignore the issues that have come out from this? And what are we doing together as a society to ensure that we can fix some of these issues? In 2018, the wealthiest people in America made an accumulated $1.1 trillion. And it is said that it would take 14.3 million Americans who make average wages to ever accumulate that $1.1 trillion. And if 14.3 million Americans made $1.1 trillion, the U.S. federal government would have collected $143 billion from us. Do you know how much the federal government collected from the wealthiest people in 2018 who made an accumulated wealth of $1.1 trillion, they collected only $1.1 billion. Now, I don't know about you, but I think that's extremely unfair. I think that's fucked up. I think that we should be outraged. But for a lot of people, especially working class people, I feel like there's a lot of pick-me's. Like, a lot of people who are fucking poor literally support those billionaires. Like, oh, I'm gonna be rich one day, and so this capitalist thing it's fine. You know, like, no, motherfucker, you're never gonna be a billionaire. You're not gonna be a billionaire. Like, you might become a millionaire, but you're not gonna be a billionaire. Like, these people are like, oh, it's okay. Like, people who don't even have wealth literally are okay with billionaires being taxed so little because they think that these billionaires are creating jobs and shit like that. Like, these billionaires are not even paying people the right amount for their labor. They don't give a fuck. They're not even providing you good benefits. And you're upholding this fucked up system for what? And I think it's because people are so conditioned and so programmed to live in this simulation. It's really frustrating because it's like, we can do something about this. Like, we can literally go to our elected leaders and say, like, you need to fund the IRS. Or we can come together and say these billionaires need to pay the rightful amount that they owe to our society. A lot of these billionaires work with our banks and our elected leaders, and so they're really running our country. And it's no surprise to anyone. Everyone has known this, but I think it's getting to a point where we should be frustrated because a lot is happening in the world. A lot is happening in our country. The price of everything has gone up except for our wages. And I think that, you know, the future of America looks like revolution. It looks like people are going to have to come together because there's no other way to sustain the society we live in, because it's only rewarding a small group of people, and so many people are going to suffer, and so many people are already suffering. You know, last year millions of people fell below the poverty line while the richest people in America got richer. There are so many issues that we need to start caring about. I don't know why people don't care. I think most people think that someone else is taking care of it, and the reality is that no one's taking care of it. Like, Publica is doing the work for us and telling us, like, hey, this is what's happening, and people don't care. Like, I've talked about so many things on this channel already, and I keep saying, like, not enough people care, and I don't know why. I think people have just been so conditioned to live in a program and to be okay with the way things are. But there is a limit to where this society can go. So, you know, I just wanted to make this video to kind of call out the bullshit and to also share my thoughts on the future of America and what we should be doing. There's a lot that our generation should be worried about, and or taking some type of action towards it. You know, like, there are people who make six figures and think that they're gonna be good, and it's just like, the price of everything went up so much. Like, the amount you're making, you're just not gonna be able to live like how you were able to live, you know, a few decades ago, where $100,000 was a lot of money and you could live a really good life. Like, it's not that much anymore because they're taxing the shit out of people, and you're not even able to, like, save money because you're constantly paying for shit now. Like, there's a loan for everything, for a car loan, a student loan, a house loan. Like, people are not able to build wealth anymore, and we're going into a renter's market where the American dream is going to be slipping away from us. I keep talking about this because I see these issues as something that's going to really hurt a lot of people. I don't know if people have the time to care, or, you know, people are just so busy working that the opportunity to go protest is just not available because they have a family. But you have to find your way of somehow helping, like, because we, the working class, have so much power. We do. And I think we have to recognize that in order to actually make some changes. The fact that these billionaires can avoid taxes and it's completely legal, it's mind-boggling. And it doesn't seem like these things are going to go away. Like, no one cared, so this is going to constantly continue. The world is revolting against their government, and I think it's any day now it'll be happening here in America. So, I mean, I look forward to seeing what the future holds. I hope I'm wrong. Like, I want to be wrong. I want to be wrong about my predictions about the future of America. I want to be wrong. God knows I want to be wrong, because I don't want to see people suffer. I don't want to suffer. I don't want to see people impoverished. I don't want to see neighborhoods going up in flames and there being violence. No one wants that. And these billionaires have the means to really make sure that we live in a better society. Like, I don't understand why you wouldn't want to. Like, if you're making billions of dollars, like, wouldn't you want to create a better society? Like, wouldn't you want to live in a better world? Wouldn't you want to take care of this planet? This planet doesn't even need us. Like, people keep saying, like, we need to save the planet. No, we need to save our species. Like, the planet does not need human beings. Like, the planet will be just fine. Like, once human beings are gone, the planet will rejuvenate and it will give birth to a new species. But it does not need human beings. We have to save ourselves. And it seems like, the fact that these billionaires have the means to really ensure that climate change doesn't happen or prevent climate change, and they're choosing not to, it really shows their true colors. And then they're doing a bunch of lip service where they're saying, like, we're doing all this shit for, philanthropy work, and it's all bullshit. And, the only people who are coming to save us is us. So it's either we care or we don't. Anyways, I would love to know what you guys think about this Publica article about, these billionaires paying little to no taxes. What do you guys think? Do you guys think this is totally fine? Do you guys feel like, we should come together? What are your thoughts? I'd love to hear from you guys. And if you enjoyed this video, please remember to thumbs up. It really helps, get this video out there. And thank you so much for joining me today on this video. So I will see you guys at my very next video. Thank you so much for being here. Bye.